Welcome to the My Jesus Story podcast. I'm Ezra.
And I'm Kim.
And today we have Roy and Sarah. Welcome to the podcast, guys. Good to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Hi there.
So to start us off, to get us rolling, the first question that I would like to ask you guys is, tell us about your background, to like maybe before your faith, or and then just how did you guys come to know Jesus?
I grew up going to church with my grandparents when I was little, and that was where I really kind of learned a bit about religion and everything. And my grandmother was very big into theology and things along those lines. And in being completely open and honest, my actual walk with God and Jesus has been fairly recent, within the last couple of years, where it has gotten a bit stronger and a bit more in depth.
I would have to say I echo Roy with just in the last couple of years, that's when I've really grown closer with God and found my relationship with Jesus. But I grew up in church all of my life. Dad was in some form or fashion part of the church, whether it was assistant pastor, music director, that kind of thing. So we were, every time the doors were open, we were there. We were involved. We were doing all the things. But it was not my personal walk until very recently, a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it that made you want to dig into getting to know God deeper? Was there like an instance, or was there an invitation?
Depends on how deep you want to go with that question.
However you want to take it.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Our story is our story, man.
About 3 years ago, well, July this coming year will be 3 years, so still a little ways away, but our marriage fell apart to a razor's edge of getting divorced and splitting up and doing everything like that, and building it back up. We've added God into that situation.
So did you seek his advice before calling it quits, like knowing that was an option, and you're going to see if God can change your hearts, or did it just stumble into your lap?
I would say there was a lot of praying going on at that time.
Okay,
So, yeah.
okay.
For me, I think there was just so many days where I knew I couldn't stand on my own physically, couldn't. And so it was just the desperation of, I don't want to do this. I don't want to lose everything that we've built. I mean, we've been good friends our whole lives. I mean, we met in kindergarten, for goodness sakes. Like, we've been friends literally our whole lives. And I don't want him to not be a part of my life. So I can't do it. And I think at that point it was, there isn't another option. And if God can't or won't fix it, okay. But I don't want to not exhaust every option.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was the option.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like there's probably a lot of people who are listening that have a rocky marriage, perhaps, and they're like, ooh, I want to hear what they have to say about that. So not so much about the part that led up to it, but the transformation. Did you go to a counselor? Did you start reading the Bible together? Did you pray together? Do you care to go into any of that, like the process?
Sure. We did see a counselor for a couple of weeks. And that, it was a joke. It was a train wreck. We got there, and each week, the first week, we were telling her why we were here and everything that was going on. And after that, it seemed like when we would go, she would ask for an update and check in. What did you guys do this last week? And we would tell her all the things that we're implementing to try and do better and communicate and that kind of thing. And she was like, okay, good. And then what? Like, that was all she just was. She didn't have anything to offer. There wasn't tangible ways of making progress and try this. Why don't you attempt to do this or spend this kind of time to whatever? There was no suggestions, no offering of ideas on ways to do better and change things. So everything that we were doing was things that we had found through listening to other podcasts or books that we were reading and praying, and we did implement prayer together. And I think that was probably a little few months in to the process where we finally got to that point where I think we were just open enough with each other. There was nothing left to hide. There was nothing more. I don't know. It was just as if, I guess, I don't know how to explain it maybe, but
Rebuilding a foundation.
yeah, starting at the very base and building up. And the way we had been doing it obviously wasn't working. So, Dr. Phil says, well, how's that working for you? Well, it wasn't, was it? Clearly. So we've got to do something different. But I got to the point where I felt like I could be vulnerable again and I could open up again. And that's when we were able to start really praying together. And we would do a few devotionals together through the Bible app and that kind of thing. And I think that's probably where we really hit a good turning point.
We also decided we were going to one of the larger churches, and I had felt in my mind, in the back of my head, I was like, I think we should stop going to the bigger church and go to a smaller church that's closer to the house with a smaller community, have friends that live closer to us, and be a part of the church instead of just being a face in the sea of people that you can kind of disappear in, which is what we had been doing for years prior. And it was kind of more, at least for me, it was more along the lines of just checking the box for, went to church, okay, good, but listen to what the guy was saying and was like, oh yeah, okay. Like, I, up until recently, like, knowing books and stories in the Bible was like, even still today, like at our church, we'll have, the preacher will start telling a story, and I'm like, I got nothing. I don't know what he's talking about. But I'm getting better at it now, where it's like, I recognize this. Okay, going through it. But getting into a smaller church and having a community feel, and seeing how it can kind of change you compared to, like I said, being just a face in the sea of people.
So speaking of all of that, so what was your viewpoint of God maybe before you guys became a Christian, and how has that changed? What is your viewpoint of God now?
I would say the viewpoint before was just something you would fall back onto. Like in times of desperation or something, you'd be like, maybe I'll throw a prayer up, see what happens.
Yeah.
Never anything that you would have just general conversation and just talk or pray every day, and not pray for things that you want. And I heard somebody said, I don't remember if it was our pastor or a podcast or something, but it's like, God isn't Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
and maybe that's the way I kind of thought before. It's like, you know, I'm hoping this happens. I'm hoping this is.
It was you. Oh, was it? It was you on your podcast. I did say it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was you.
It was a podcast. But that was a thing where it's just kind of like, yeah, okay. You know, now it's more conversational, more regular, you know, time spent not just in desperation or, you know, help me out here, please.
Yeah. So, how have you guys? I know you guys are speaking of prayer, and so how have you guys? How have you guys grown in your relationship with God together? How does that look like? What has that looked like?
Definitely prayer time together. And it's, you know, all of the meals, ending our day that way. And with his work schedule, it's definitely not starting our day that way. He's up and out of the house so early. But we do some of the Bible app devotions. We'll go through those together. Whether it's a couples one or it doesn't matter. It's just like, oh, I thought this one was interesting. Maybe, you know, do it with me or whatever. And we'll start over and go through those together. But I think a lot of it too has just been making church the priority and making sure that we are there.
Mm-hmm.
We are taking our little one with us. You know, he's growing and he's learning just as much. You know, we're teaching him how to pray properly. And I think that's been something that we've talked about fairly recently too. The last, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months or so has just been like, let's deepen our prayer life. It's not just the same, thanks for all the wonderful things you've given us. And, you know, please help us, you know, keep us safe, bless our families. And, you know, that's fine. That's good. You know, he wants to know about all of those things and that's great, but it's deeper than that. And I think that's something that we've both desired to take to the next level. And I think in time, you know, growing closer with each other and in our personal relationship, but our relationship with Christ too, it's growing. It's getting there. You know, it's certainly not, I feel like there's room for improvement. Mm-hmm. But we're leaps and bounds from where we were even a year ago today. So one step at a time, I guess.
Yes. So what is your advice for somebody who just found Christ, who just became a Christian?
Ooh. We talked about that at church not too far back. You know, you want to lead people to Christ and you want, you know, make heaven crowded and all of that. And that's great. Yes. But then we kind of step away, don't we? We wash our hands of it and everyone's left to their own instead of discipling them. And I feel like that's where we have, in wanting to get away from the megachurch, we wanted to get into a smaller crowd so that we could be discipled. We could learn. We can't feed without being fed ourselves.
Right.
So it's been that road of, we're not volunteering for this, that, and the other committee, or let me teach this class or volunteer in this area. Nope. We are sitting back. We are getting our fill. We're getting a good foundation, and we're figuring out, where do we fit into all of this before we can commit. So for new Christians, I would say find a teacher, whether it's a friend, it's a Bible study, it's a group at church. Find somebody who will walk with you verse by verse and figure it out. And it's not, our church is very KJV, and that's good, great. King James Version. Our personal preference isn't KJV because we are still so new. It's hard to understand, right? Like we're not stupid, but we're also not like trying to decipher and translate Shakespeare on the fly. So if I read my New Living Translation along with our pastor who is preaching KJV, well, I can hear what he's saying. I can read my translation along with him, and I understand it.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
another friend of ours,
Mm-hmm.
her husband is a pastor, and he suggested when we were looking for Bibles, go to a bookstore, find your favorite verse or passage in multiple translations, and you pick the one that resonates best with you, that you understand the easiest. Start there. You can always change it later, right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
get a Bible that you understand, that you can read through and really get. And then you get a teacher who will walk verse by verse with you and get a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say, but I don't know. I didn't go to seminary. I don't know.
I would say all that and the same thing. And also, like, the big thing is getting into a smaller community style church. Doesn't have to be, one of the, like, where we are. There's a lot of single room churches where there's only like 12 people or something. That might be a little bit too small for you or whatever, but find a church that you feel like is home
Mm-hmm.
and get some friends there and things will just start happening. But along with the figuring out what Bible to have, the Bible app,
Yes.
I think it is just
YouVersion
Bible app. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That one is very good and it has every translation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it also has a lot of devotionals and plans and different things that you can do with your friends. You can, like, we started doing the reading the Bible chronologically throughout the year every day with some of our other friends. So you kind of have accountability partners to keep you going. There's a chat section in it, everything. So doing things like that, and you're only going to learn by doing. So take the step and start going.
I had a friend who used her son's children's Bible because I thought that was genius. You use what you understand.
Yes.
And she's like, I know it. I'm like, that's the smartest thing. I never would have thought about doing that.
Yeah, we've used our son's book Bible. We've probably read that to him 10 times.
At least,
Maybe.
start to finish, yeah.
And through that, I've, like, okay, I recognize that. And it's like, okay, now I hear the story at church or whatever. It's like a little more in depth. Okay,
Right.
I gotcha.
Right.
But I recognize the story.
Yep.
And it helps instead of kind of just tuning out and, like, I don't know what he's talking about, so why am I going to listen?
Right.
But now it's like, I kind of know.
Mm.
And for me too, another thing with being at a church and having, like, my own Bible to, like, go to instead of, like, maybe I'm just old school, but having a physical book with pages, a little more analog than the digital world. But we also take notes. We have a notebook that we keep with our Bibles and stuff whenever the preacher's talking, and that helps keeping you engaged with what they're saying. And some days I got nothing, but other days it's a page and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends.
I think that's cool how certain days it speaks louder than other days. And it's not that you weren't listening, or maybe, I don't know, I guess you could have been daydreaming, but it's soothing to know that sometimes he hits you with stuff, and other times you're, for whatever reason, you're just, it's empty. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you care if we talk about your son?
No, yeah,
And
sure.
how, like, how you introduced the Bible to him? Did you start when he was a baby and you started reading, or you're like, hey, this is a Bible, do you want to look at it?
Well, we had been going to the big mega church for a while, and he always went with us. We'd been going even before he was born and all of that, but he got to the point, I think he was about 3, little past 3, and he just lost it. He was just going through that phase where we could not leave him, could not drop him off. And we'd go on Sunday mornings. And then each season they would have like a mom's group. So I could go and take him, drop him off to his group to play. I'd go have devotions, Bible study time with the other moms, and then come back and get him his couple hours once a week for a season. And he was doing okay. And then he just wasn't. He just wasn't. I'm like, this is just not like him. What's going on? But it was huge. And he's a lot like us. We're just like, we just blend in. Let's just blend in. We don't need to be forefront. We certainly are not like, hey, crowd of people, let's go. That's not our jam. We don't love that. And so he naturally kind of just doesn't either. So we kind of tapered off on going. Well, then there was all the COVID mess too. Before all of that, he turned 1 during all of that. So I think it was just a weird season we were in. So I had asked in our old neighborhood if anybody had a kid's Bible recommendation or had one to share or whatever. And a friend of mine said, I've got one. My kids didn't use it. We got duplicates or whatever. And her kids were too big for it at that point. So she gave it to us. It's just one of those little kid cartoon. It gives you the general idea, and it gives you like the title, and it gives you, the location, every book, chapter, and the verse range that it's found in. So like going through the New Testament, all of that, if it's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John touched on it, those are all listed in there. And it's really great that way. But it gives just a brief story. Maybe 2 paragraphs or so. It's just, it's the big pictures on the page and a couple sentences at the bottom. You flip the page. Like, it's super simplified. But he just has always he just latched onto it. He's just always liked it. And he's not a big kid style fan. We joke like he's our little 80-year-old man in a 6-year-old's body. His favorite things are salad bars, McDonald's hot apple pies, and he just needs a black cup of black coffee, right? Like he's weird. It's cute. He's adorable. So he's like, kid things aren't his favorite. And he has said, he's like, that's so juvenile. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you're 6. What? It's so juvenile. So are you, though. So the fact that he's latched onto this very childlike Bible is kind of surprising for him. And start to finish, like at least 10 times. We've got the spines coming apart, pages are starting to fall out. Like, we have read this thing, and it's still the one, like, he's spending the night at his grandparents' house tonight, and that's the story he chose. He wanted that as his bedtime book. And I'm like, cool, put it in the suitcase. Let's go. Doesn't bother me. So anyway, I don't actually remember why he handed me the microphone, what the question was, but he's funny like that. And he likes his little baby Bible. So I don't remember what the actual question was. We can cut that out, right?
No, that's why I love this, is because it's some giggling and some serious. So
I'm involved. We're probably going to laugh about something.
You did answer it because I said, the question was, how did you get him interested in the Bible?
Oh, yeah, no, it's just his little baby Bible. And he just loves it.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Found one that he likes.
We did get him last summer. I think it was last summer. He bumped up. He graduated from his kindergarten preschool class to the big kid class. So they grouped the kids in like 1st to 3rd grade. And they asked the kids to bring their Bibles with them. So we got him a KJV Bible for kids, for boys. And it has some devotionals and stuff like that. We've not dived into that yet. But we wanted him to have a Bible that he could take and feel confident and comfortable with. But we also wanted him to have the same version that the other kids were reading and that the teacher was reading, so that when he opened it to the right place, it didn't say something different. He knew he still was where he was supposed to be, and he could follow along that way. So we were careful to get him something that, not to fit in, but something that he could at least understand. Like, it says, Matthew, it says chapter 8, but it doesn't say the same thing. I didn't want him I didn't want to confuse him.
Right.
So
That's a good choice.
So anyway, we got him all of that, and he carries that little thing with him in his little carry case, and he is just as proud as a peacock with that thing. It's so cute. Walking down the hall, he just goes to his class. See you later, and he's gone. It's hilarious.
Does he have a blazer with?
Yes.
with what's it called?
Oh my
like
gosh.
corduroy
Yes,
elbow
the little
patches?
elbow patches. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. His cutest little thing. So he wears his little it's just a little cotton with the fleece inside, zip up hoodie kind of thing. But Grandpa was he's part of another group. I don't know if I should say the name or not. He's part of the Gideon's group. I don't know if that's a thing to say or not. So he goes around to different churches in the area, and he just gives a little talk about their program and what they're all about. And so he was with them for a few weeks while we had gone on our very belated honeymoon trip. So we were gone for a while. So anyway, going around, he has his suit and his tie and all of that. And he wanted to have a suit and a tie too. I'm like, I don't have a suit and a tie for this kid. He just wears play clothes because he's 6 and we play and he plays hard. So he had his little jacket because it was cold outside. And he zipped that up and he's like, this is my jacket, just like his grandpa's. And so anyway, since then, Mom was like, she had him again for something. And she's like, let's go get you a suit. Let's go. And I'm like, why are we spending that much money on a little kid's suit that's going to, like, he's going to grow out of that? Anyway, proud as can be wearing that. He's got his little tie. He's got his little button-down vest. And it's the cutest thing. And he's got his carry case Bible. And he is just happy as a lark. It's cute. It's adorable. Awesome. He just wants to be just like all the big guys at church. It's real cute.
Well, that's a perfect lead-in question to like not mentoring so much, but as we get older, people look at us as the people who you're supposed to follow, like wisdom and stuff like that. And so the importance of where do you guys see yourself at in your church setting, like as middle ground? Are you learning from the older generation and still like putting into the younger generation? I mean, like it's a weird scenario to be in right now. Yeah.
I feel like we're still in that infancy where we still just don't know enough to share. But you got to start somewhere. So, and also being more on the introverted side, like, won't be us leading the class. That's not it. That's not going to be doing that. But then you say things like never, and God's like, got jokes. Here we are. And here's your new class. Here's your roster, right? Yep. So want to be careful about saying that. I feel like our little one is going to be in charge of all the things someday because that's what he likes to do, is tell people what to do. Nicely, most of the time, I hope. But for us, like, do you need a greeter at the door? Sounds good. Here's your bulletin. Welcome. See you later. Bye. And I'm going to go sit down in my chair because there is assigned seating at church. Don't take people's rows, right? So like, you can't sit here. But you can sit beside me. I just feel like, well, I guess I was asked to help out in the Sunday school group in the morning, on Sunday mornings, on the praise team singing. And I thought, that's a lot. That's for the introvert who wants to sit here and blend in. There's no blending in up there. It's just there. But I'm doing it because I feel like, am I hindering this group? Probably not. Am I helping them? Also, no. Absolutely no. However, I was specifically asked by a couple of people to step up and do it. And so I was like, okay, I will do that. But I don't know that I want to do much more yet. I just feel like you just feel like you're not strong enough to give anything of value. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know. So yeah, I feel like I need to know more before I can share more. So I don't know. What do you think?
I would say I'm in the same ballpark of like, I don't know enough to feel confident in leading someone else, because I'd be like blind leading the blind here. And I mean, see a little bit of light compared to being completely in the dark. But, there's been conversations that I've had with people at work that are along the lines where it's like, hey, and kind of stepping way outside of my comfort zone and, bringing things up. And it's like one of those taboo conversations that you don't really want to have at work. But if they brought it up, well, okay, maybe this is an opportunity that it's being pushed in front of me here. Let's see where it goes. But like leading a class or a study or anything like that, and at a church or whatever, I'm like, no, not,
So,
not right now.
as you guys have grown, I know we're talking about this, and it does take reliance upon the Lord to take that step of faith to do what you're uncomfortable, because God does ask us to do uncomfortable things sometimes, things that we do not want to do. So has there been maybe any other times where you have had to trust in the Lord with something, where you have maybe had to be bold with something? Do you guys have something?
Can we talk about Emmaus?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Our Emmaus, my Emmaus walk definitely was. I had no idea what I was getting into at all, and which is part of it. Won't give away anything about what happens or anything, but that was definitely a out of your comfort zone, completely, taxed mentally, not really physically, but just, you're exhausted, and brings you to the breaking point, basically, mentally and spiritually, for me at least. And
But on top of that, you were very sick that weekend and probably should not have gone, but didn't really know he was sick until after he was gone and there. But so, yeah, he physically also was completely taxed, wiped out.
that was definitely, a stress point where, you got to push past that breaking point, and then you kind of come out on the other side. And then when everything fell apart with our marriage and stuff, that was definitely a massive breaking point, kind of like, you got to hit rock bottom to build back up again. And um, I'd heard another thing that someone said where it was, you don't, can't exactly remember what the saying was, but it was like, you don't really learn anything until it's completely bought and paid for. And when you've gotten to the point where you're at that rock bottom, basically, it's you've paid for it. And you learn, and you don't make those mistakes again, or you change, so you build up different.
I want to circle back real fast to explain Emmaus a little bit for people who don't know what it is. It's like a 4-day retreat where you get pampered with yummy food and lots of cool stuff. But then
that's the girls' one.
You guys don't get that?
Not as much for sure.
Oh, it sucks to be.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
If you're a woman, it's awesome. There's a lot of food.
Guys, one's not that cool.
Okay, all right. Still you get fed.
Yeah.
So you go with you go with yourself, and
There's fasting.
we didn't have fasting.
They just spell it different.
Spell it with an E. Feasting.
Oh, feasting. There is feasting. I'm slow. Sorry. Yes. Boy, yours really is different.
Yeah.
But it's a 4-day-ish retreat where you dig into your not your beliefs so much, but I don't know how it happens. It's almost like on day 2, you were fine on day 1, and you're like, you know what? I don't even know if I need to be here or not. And then on day 2 and 3, you are like,
rocked.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then on day 4, you don't want to go because it's so like holy and community and love and the food.
Yeah.
And
More food.
just totally, just really awesome. And you learn so much about yourself.
Mhm.
So that's where I met Sarah. So that's the connection that brought them here. So I'm curious to hear about your Emmaus adventure.
I feel like mine wasn't as profound as his. But I think my upbringing and my foundation, as weak and superficial as it was probably a bit better than what he was going in with, just because we were brought up so drastically different. But in good ways. But yeah, my walk was, I knew if my mom could go through and do it and come out of it encouraging me to go, and she is like the ultimate introvert, I knew I'd be okay. And I did know a few of the table leaders and stuff like that going into it, not super close, but enough where it was like, okay, if something goes down, I at least could go to them and be like, wow, what's up? I need you to like get me out of here or something, right? But yeah, it was like that first night, you're just like, what have I signed up for? This is interesting. I don't know where I stand on it. But then by day 2, day 3, you're just like, oh my gosh, my world just got rocked. Like, this is wild.
In a good way.
In a great way. Yeah. And then you don't want to leave because you have quieted all of the outside noise and distractions. You have complete focus centered on God and love and everything that you are to him and being his. And you just are like, yeah, I'm not going back to anything else. No way. You couldn't pay me. And then you have to actually go back and it's like, that's not as not as fun. But I think in having the experience, knowing it's a choice, I can stay in God's presence and I can stay basking in his love and in his adoration of me. I don't have to succumb to all of the noise and the distractions and everything else that's going. Now, did I? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I mean, I had, was it this, a year ago, probably February, March, I hit a low where I was just like depressed and couldn't get out of the funk. And it was at that point where I was like, I have a good base going. I have a good relationship with God. I know where I'm going. I know he loves me. I know that, Jesus is living in me, all of that. Didn't doubt it, didn't question it at all. But I just could not get out of the mental funk of, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't. And it was, go a little deep, I guess, off the edge here. It was at the point where I was like, if it weren't like, he'd be fine. My husband would be fine. If I died, he'd be fine. He will find somebody else. He will move past it. We'll suck that up and just be like, well, this is unfortunate. Okay. And keep going. And I'm sorry, I know but that mentally, that's where I was. I was just like, you know what? Is he going to miss it? No, probably not. I don't know. I mean, that's mentally, that's just where I was.
Right.
Like, was that accurate? Probably not. But in my head, that's where I was. And the one thing that kind of kept pushing me into, you can overcome this. You have to overcome this, was thinking about we have 3 sons. And they are 25, 21, and 6. So my thought process was, I don't want them going through those life milestones of getting married, having kids, doing all of those big, great things, and thinking, gosh, I wish mom was here for that. That's what pushed me forward. Like, He's good.
He would have missed you.
Yes, he probably would have missed me. I know. But that was the biggest thing. Like, I didn't want to put my kids through that. So I did reach out to our pastor, and I was just like, I am really struggling. I am really, really not good. And I said, no, there's no plans. There's nothing in the works. You don't have to worry about anybody's safety or anything like that. I just know that I am in a deep, dark place. And he's like, so I explained kind of what I had been going through and all of that. And he's like, okay, here's some verses. Here's some things to meditate on. He's like, what you're dealing with is spiritual warfare.
Mm.
This isn't like you need medication or you need this or that. This is spiritual warfare, and you need the devil out of your brain, period.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even, like, it never occurred to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how silly is that? Like, it never occurred to me, like, that's what was happening. And as soon as I read that and I started reading through these verses and I started praying about it in that way, it was fine.
Wow.
I mean, it was like fine. And I've been okay since.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, had I known,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been like, hey, preacher, by the way, a lot faster.
Yeah.
But in my human self and my second child stubbornness, I was like, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. We don't have to talk about it. Nobody needs to know. And I think that's part of it too. The stigma of things, like, you don't want to tell people, like, we're still fairly new to this church and we're still trying to build friendships and relationships. So it's like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the one labeled as whatever. So we're just going to let that brush under the rug. We're not going to say anything about it. Put on a smile and a happy face and just come and do your thing, right? Well, that didn't get me very far. So
Right.
not in a good way. So I don't know.
I appreciate your candor and honesty, because a lot of times I think people think, well, people who believe in God, they don't go through dark times, and it's all happy and rainbows and it's butterflies everywhere.
You can love God all you want. You're still a human, and you still have those battles.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
You'll be under attack.
Oh yeah.
One thing on my Emmaus walk, I'll talk about like a video that they played, and I mentioned it to Sarah, and she said she didn't see it, and
We didn't have
it was kind of one of the things that I was watching, and I was like, huh, that makes sense. Was this video? This guy's walking around with a suitcase. He's dragging this carry-on bag behind him, and if you notice in the background, everybody is walking around with a suitcase. And this guy's taking this suitcase and he's chucking it in the dumpster. And he, walks away from it, gets home, lifts up the trunk of his car. There's a suitcase. Picks it back up, starts dragging it around again, and does this over and over and over. He's constantly trying to get rid of this suitcase. And every single time he turns around, there it is. Picks it back up again. And so he goes out to the woods with his suitcase and a shovel. And there's a cross out there, and he leaves the suitcase with the cross, and it disappears. And that's what got me. Still does, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess at my walk, I was able to leave some baggage behind, and some other things, other stuff happened with, like, I don't want to say like what happened, like things that happened, but it was like there was a display of like a luggage being chucked away and stuff like that, and it was like, okay,
Mm-hmm. Stuff you didn't even know you were carrying,
yeah,
maybe, or just pushed it down. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's anybody who has the opportunity to do Emmaus or have never heard of it, contact me. I can help you, but it's it'll change you.
Yeah.
It'll change you for the good.
All right, final question. You're sitting on a bench with Jesus. You look at him and say,
am I on the right path?
I'm sorry it took me so long.
Well, Roy and Sarah, thank you for coming on. It's so nice to get to see you again, Sarah. I haven't seen you in a long time. But we appreciate your candor and your authenticity. Is probably the correct word. So thank you for listening to today's story. Join us next episode for another encouraging testimony on My Jesus Story podcast.